Curry, I'm in prison right now for murder in the second degree.
Second degree murder.
Grov vold. Narkotikadommer.
Welcome to Halden Maximum Security Prison. What I'm going to talk about today applies also for the Norwegian Correctional Service as a whole, as well as there are some Nordic values that are also in common here. We are protecting the society, but at the same time we are going to try to make change among the inmates. Change for a better future.
God morgen.
Her i Norge så går vi ut fra tanken om at vi er her som straff, ikke for å straffes. Så vi har fått straffa vår av retten, og da må vi være her i fengselet en periode. Og vi skal jo ikke straffes noe mer her inne. Så det elementet av hevn, da, det er tatt vekk. Det står jo ganske sterkt ellers i hvert fall i USA. Alle puss!
Attica is a rough place. It is a very rough place, very cold. And I'm not just speaking about, the walls. I'm talking about just, the vibe, the energy that you get from everyone. You pretty much have to be a strong individual to survive here.
Over here I have my papers and my folders, a couple legal papers. Here I have some more hooks where clothes go into. And like I said, utilizing every space. Just bought these bananas at commissary yesterday. So this is really the only place where I can put them where they won't squish and go bad on me. Over in this area over here, we have the bathroom, of course. Everything is like all within one hookup. Then under the bed, you want to utilize the space under the bed. I got a bin here where I keep food that I purchased at commissary. Some tortillas, peanut butter, canned goods was not allowed anymore. They just banned these. So now we're allowed pouches. I just purchased these yesterday.
Her ser jeg alle i sko og vannkoker. Her er da klærne. Kjøleskap. Så har vi da jakker. Her er det et lite bad. Knøtt lite.
Vi har jo for så vidt mange prinsipper, men jeg synes de to mest sentrale, det er dette med normalitet, at fengselet skal ligne så mye som mulig på samfunnet på utsiden, men også dette med at vi skal behandle de innsatte på en human måte. Jeg ønsker å gjøre noe som er samfunnsnyttig, som betyr noe for samfunnet, og det å kunne jobbe med mennesker og menneskelig endring, at de skal kunne leve et normalt liv etterpå, som er til gavn både for den innsatte og for samfunnet, det motiverer meg. Og samme også da med å forsøke å eksportere noen av de ideene som virker da i Norden til et annet land, for jeg har tro på at grunnelementene her vil også virke i andre land. Det er det som på en måte jeg synes er spennende. Hvis dette kan forandre livet til om så bare én innsatt i USA, så er det på en måte verdt å ta den reisen. Altså.
How you doing? CID, please.
Yes.
Please sign in.
Okay.
Yep, everything good is here.
Yeah.
Yep. Option push. Okay, you can go ahead and walk through.
Det har en forhåpning først, og det er kanskje at høysikkerhetsfengsler i USA er noe mer enn det man kan se på TV. Det er en forhåpning, men jeg forventer det kanskje ikke. Jeg forventer nok å se et system som er basert, i hvert fall hvor dette tanken om hevn og gjengjeldelse er et sentralt element. Det er jo fraværende i Norden.
Jan, I'm Dale Artis.
Good
Welcome
to
to
meet you.
Attica.
Thank you very much.
Jim Conway.
I remember Jim. Good to see you again. Been a couple of years now. But,
So this is the recreation yards for A block, which is behind us, B block, which is straight ahead, C block to the left, D block to the right. The individuals that are housed in the blocks will all come down the corridor and go to the right. So A block's behind us, they come down the corridor, go to the right into the yard. And later on this afternoon or this evening, we'll be able to come back out here and we'll see the inmates participating in one of our recreation periods. There's about 480 inmates in A block, B block, and C block. In D block, there is around 400, a little less. Honor block is in D block, and they've taken 3 cells and made them into 2, so the count's a little bit less. All the yards are covered by one individual yard tower. The officers are armed with an AR-15 and chemical agents.
Okay.
So we haven't deployed deadly physical force in the yards, which would be the AR-15, in quite some time. Chemical agents a couple times a year. We've been very fortunate. I don't believe once this year yet, or once maybe.
So from a security point of view, where do you feel that, in a way, you're taking care of the security? The guys who are together with the inmates and feel the tension and having the dialogue, or the guys out in the tower? Now, where do you have the security element in a way?
It's a combination of both. They have intercoms from the yard platform to the tower, and our staff here are extremely observant of habit. And I've come to know that before something happens in the yard, more often than not, our staff know it's going to happen, and they see it happening. So it's a combination of both the foot soldiers on the ground, so to speak, and the eyes in the sky. We're good. One at a time.
En fengselsbetjents oppgave er fortsatt man kommer ikke utenom at man skal ivareta sikkerheten. Sikkerheten for den ansatte, sikkerheten for seg selv og for sine kolleger. Det, på en måte, det ligger i bunnen uansett om vi snakker om Finland, Norge, Sverige, USA. Det er på en måte fundamentet i jobben. Men det kan ikke stoppe der. Du må på en måte ha med deg, du må på en måte være til stede som et menneske også, rett og slett. Dette konseptet med dynamisk sikkerhet som er veldig sentralt i Norden, nemlig en respektfull og god dialog med den innsatte, som legger grunnlaget både for å tenke framtidsplaner, for å tenke endring, for å skape tillit som basisverdier, for å gjøre endringer også i de innsattes liv. Men den dynamiske sikkerheten det ikke rocket science. Det handler rett og slett om å være god på kommunikasjon, bruke gode samtaleteknikker og ha en samtale egentlig som basert på respekt. Hvis du I stand til å se den innsatte ikke som en kriminell, men som et menneske som har gjort noe kriminelt, hvis du ser den forskjellen der, så har du et godt grunnlag for å ha en respektfull dialog. Har du det, så du på en måte inne på hovedsporet når det gjelder dynamisk sikkerhet.
I'm in a maximum security prison, so everything is about security here. And the most I feel safe is in my cell when it's closed. There's a lot of people here that have actual like mental problems and stuff like that. That's probably not getting the adequate attention. And you know, you kind of think like you don't know if one of these guys are going to blow up or something like that. And then just moving around. But I've been here for 10 years, so I'm kind of like balanced.
You might just got here in the facility, you don't really know anybody, so I might try to be your friend just to see what I can get out of you, see what type of person you are, see what you're in prison for, see if you have any family support, and then once I find out that you don't really have any allies or, you know, but you have family support, people do take advantage of you. You know, they will, you know, ask you for a candy bar. And then from there, it goes to, let me wear a pair of your sneakers. You know, and then you don't get them back. And then once you don't, you know, do anything but from that, then it's just open season. Guys are taking your commissary, they might take your TV, you know, so it's like a jungle, it really is. You know how like the lions prey on the weak, and that's pretty much how it is. Because people, again, they're just barely surviving in here. It's a tough place.
Yeah, and this is the facility's gymnasium. It's the only basic recreation area inside for the inmate population.
What about staff interaction with the inmates? Because in the Nordic countries, the interaction between staff and inmates is a vital point. So, okay, when you are 9 persons and you lack the last one, do the staff actually participate in the basketball game or whatever?
No, they wouldn't be participating with them, so to speak, when we're running the rec. What they would be doing is refereeing the games, out here on the floor, supervising the referees who would be other inmates.
But imagine if I was a correction officer and you were an inmate, and we're playing basketball, and sometimes in the game of basketball it can get heated, it can get physical, and I go up and my elbow catches you nice. Now I got an officer and an inmate at a conflict. We don't want that to happen. It's going to be a very tenuous situation if that were to happen, or vice versa. If the inmate went up and gave him a shot, you know, we stay away from that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we think a little bit differently, obviously. Absolutely. Then. So, yes. And to a certain extent, it's correct what Jim says, because the very few accidents that we've had among staff has been on the football field, for instance. So yes, it can happen as a part of the game then, not because there is any conflict really, but as a normal part of the game. So
accidents happen.
Yeah, it does.
Accidents happen.
Okay, so you will stay on the policy that you have now,
oh,
probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Likeverde mellom mennesker. Jeg ser ikke den i praksis. Vi så noen konkrete eksempler også når de innsatte kom tilbake til avdeling, hvordan de ansatte da stilte seg opp i en slags formasjon, hvor batongen var trukket ut og klargjort. Kroppsholdning, Ja, det var indikasjoner som for meg ikke tyder på likeverd, respekt, god dialog mellom innsatte og ansatte.
For the inmates here, I think a lot of people are dealing with a lot of issues, you know, so those issues aren't being addressed, so a lot of people are still angry for what led them to come to prison. They might be angry at what's going on, the condition that they're living in. Finances is a big thing, you know, people aren't eating, you know, so, you know, if your stomach is growling, you know, people don't tend to be the most, you know, civil person.
Ja, jeg reagerte på porsjonenes størrelse. De var små. Jeg kunne ikke forstå at det kunne være nok for en voksen mann til å dekke et næringsbehov. Når det gjaldt matens innhold, så var det en pølse i brød, som det så ut som for meg. Muligheten til å få en suppe ved siden av, hvilket de fleste takket nei til. Vann å drikke, en appelsin, og noe som kanskje lignet på en type coleslaw som noen også sa ja til, men de fleste sa nei. Så for meg så var det et veldig magert måltid i mengde. Rent næringsmessig så var det vel kanskje heller ikke all verden. Og om de hadde mat igjen, så var det ikke mulig å få en servering til. Det var en servering, og så var det slutt.
If you don't have money, you know, to buy a commissary, or you don't have family that's supporting you, you know, sending you packaging like that, it can be tough, you know, once you eat your last meal at 5 o'clock. You know, from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock the next morning, you know, you don't have anything to eat. So, you know, that's tough. You know, when you're laying in that cell, dealing with whatever issues that you have, and then your stomach is growling on top of that, it's, you know, it's rough.
Som også i Halden fengsel er veldig strengt regulerte. Det er jo tross alt et høysikkerhetsfengsel. Så er mat ofte et viktig element. Det er, jeg vet ikke om jeg skal bruke ordet velferdsgode, men det er en viktig del av dagen. Det er også et samlingspunkt, så det, man utveksler også, eller man gjør seg noen sosiale erfaringer ved å dele et måltid mat. I tillegg til selvfølgelig smaksopplevelsen og så videre. Så mat er viktig på mange plan, altså i et fengsel.
Man kommer seg ut av det fengselet da, til slutt. Det tar 2 sesonger liksom. 18 år.
Arbeidsoppgavene synes jeg er veldig innholdsrike og meningsfylte. Det å få lov til å legge opp en soningsplan for en innsatt, og klare å motivere han, hvis vi klarer det, til å kunne endre kriminelle livsmønstret sitt. Da synes jeg vi har kommet veldig langt, og det er det mest meningsfylte, synes jeg. Få lov til å følge en innsatt fra A til Å, og se at det skjer noe i løpet av den tiden som de er her.
Good day, going home safe, unharmed to my family. That's a good day.
The amazing thing about this place is even though we've had a huge turnover the last couple of years with retirements and new staff coming in, we try to teach the younger officers the way I was taught 30 years ago. We try to keep that continuity and we try to keep everybody on the same page. Everybody knows what they're doing. That makes it so much easier. Communication with staff in an emergency situation it's the best. And we're very good at it here.
I come to work, I do my job, I know that I'm doing my job correctly. I don't know if I directly affect any inmate in a positive way on a daily basis. I just do my job like I'm supposed to. And my goal is to go home every day. So every day that I go home, that's the reward that I get. I get to see my kids again.
The friends I've made here are lifelong friends. I mean that. This is a great place to work. I wouldn't change a thing.
It's a culture of intimidation, of oppression, from not necessarily just staff, but also, you know, officers, and it's slowly changing. within the last few years. It's been changing with the administering of cameras throughout the facility, especially what's been publicized and notarized about what has occurred here, some of the violent situations. But the culture basically is an oppressive culture. We're the scum of the earth and deserve to be punished beyond what the judge and the magistrates decide what our punishment should be. So, I mean, pretty much I've been thankful and fortunate enough to avoid some of the extremes of that oppression, like physical abuse, assaults, and some people have been murdered.
Her tror jeg respekten I større grad skapt gjennom maktkonstellasjonen. At det noen som faktisk har makt over noen andre. Og gjennom det har man på en måte bygd en slags respekt. Så det to ulike innfallsvinkler til det ordet, opplever jeg.
It's getting better, but I'd say about 2-3 years ago, it was horrible. There was no cameras in here. There was no microphones. Staff pretty much do as they please, treat us like animals. That's how they say it. So now it's a little bit better. I mean, officers, they got new officers in here that are more interactive with us. They're not, how you say it, looking at us as animals.
There are a lot that are very violent at times, and it's not just physical, it's verbal, calling you out of your name, meaning that, using derogatory terminology, so degrade you, but I don't know, it's Attica, Attica.
Attica får nå etter hvert kameradekning inne I fengselet, I korridorer, fellesskapsrom og så videre. Det jo en god ting, tenker vi I Norden også. Det øker sikkerhetsfølelsen for de ansatte. Det som var spesielt her var jo at de innsatte, nesten alle vi snakket med, applauderte jo det å få kameraer inn I fengselet. For det hadde jo redusert mengden vold, mengden trakassering fra ansatte overfor innsatte. Så her var det på en måte snudd på hodet. Det var de innsatte som opplevde kameradekningen som et gode og en økning av deres sikkerhet I forhold til de ansatte. Det var veldig spesielt å høre.
A lot of guys are angry when they leave here because of their treatment.
Yeah.
And if it was better, then, they would be better for society as a whole. That you have a more civilized person leaving here because of the treatment that went on while they were in prison. A lot of guys leave here angry. Because of the treatment.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You have to make a decision, what are you going to do? Like for me, I sold drugs for 3 years. I had to make a decision, like, are you going to waste your life or are you going to utilize your talent? So this is why I started drawing every day. At one point, I wasn't drawing at all. I think for the first 5 years of my incarceration, I didn't draw at all.
Skal jeg spille inn?
Ja, spille.
I wish I fly like a bird. Fight like a bee. Run like a horse. And breathe like an eagle.
Nå vi I Criminal Records Studio I Halden fengsel, hvor vi har et stort recordingstudio hvor vi sitter nå, the main room. Så har vi et litt mindre studio med 4 eller 5 lærepulter på et annet rom, så nå vi I Mekka. For meg som var musiker fra før, så jo det gull verdt. Og det mange av oss. Så i dag det mye rappere, ikke sant? Og de greier seg med lite data. Og her får du jo utdanning i digital Pro Tools som vi har her da, i studio. Så dette her jo... Jeg har ikke ord for det, egentlig.
Build me a western town. It looked like...
I dag hadde vi åpning på restauranthuset Ærlig Mat. Det en prosjekt som har vært en ønske veldig lenge, men i dag så ble dette her en realitet. Og det var en glede å åpne restauranten selv inne i fengselet.
Da det åpnet.
Instrumenter og opptaksutstyr ganske billig i dag, for at det var før. Vi kan komme langt med en computer der inne, en vanlig datamaskin, og noe små ting. Og hele det utstyret her som koster jo ikke mer enn en snekkermaskin der borte, og det blir ikke stilt noen spørsmål da.
Sett med andre øyer utenifra så kan det virke dette at vi har det for bra. Men til syvende og sist så må vi forstå at vi sitter jo inne. Vår frihet begrenset. Men behandler du et menneske dårlig, hva forventer du det mennesket skal bli der ute? At i Norge satser de på å rehabilitere mennesker i stedet for å tråkke dem enda lenger ned, synes jeg ikke det for snill. Jeg synes dette en bra tiltak. Dette gir muligheter. Dette skaper og også minsker kriminalitet, hvor folk faktisk får den følelsen at de kan mestre andre ting enn å drive med det de har drivet tidligere.
Jeg jobbet i 14 år i et annet fengsel som snekrer paller. Hva skal du med det når du kommer ut fra fengselet? Å være en racer på å produsere paller, eller kålkasser, eller noe sånn idiotjobb. Det her jeg synes at det må være viktig at de har noe de kan bruke.
We find a lot of things from time to time, and the inmates are very ingenious in how they come up with some of the things that they make. I'll start out with this, a few general things. This is a tattoo machine. The inmate took a piece of a toothbrush, bent it into the handle, took an ink pen that we had in his cell, put a needle in it, and fashioned a motor out of his tape player to get it to work. Because jailhouse tattoos are illegal and also not very hygienic. Up in the top right corner, we have just a basic pen, but the inmate also managed to take a sewing needle and make a dart out of it and turn it into a blowgun. Yeah, that was a pretty good find. All stuff that they have in their cells. They can make anything out of just about anything today. They're very, very crafty.
All day looking at this cell block is, to me, a little bit unusual, actually. We also have in Norway these kind of corridors, but we have probably a larger degree of privacy. Now here we can look into each cell even the restrooms of the inmates.
Yes.
How do you feel about that lack of privacy?
Actually, we're going to more cells that have open fronts. We have 2 cell blocks here at Attica that have solid doors with just small windows for the officers to look into. And we're expanding the field of view so we can maintain the care, custody, and control of the individuals within. It's what we've become accustomed to in this department to ensure what's going on. We do allow the inmates to put a blanket up when they're using the bathroom halfway, but we want to be able to see them.
Okay.
But other than that, we do need to view the guys in their cells.
So the privacy issue hasn't been raised by the inmates to a special degree?
It's been the system forever.
Yeah.
And the privacy issue, male on male, is not raised, but if a female walks down the companies, they're obligated to announce themselves. And there was a gentleman here earlier before when one of our deputy superintendents was in the area who's a female, and he excused himself and asked her if she would step down the company so he could use the facilities. He did not ask me to. It's just the way the business is conducted, and the men are used to it. And it takes a while for new staff to get used to that. It's not human nature to not afford people that much privacy.
This kind of cell block, being open with the bars and being open, and no privacy regarding the restroom.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well,
will you just get used to it, or do you think about it?
Well, it's kind of inhumane.
Yeah.
It's inhumane. Like, you asked me to, like, I'm using the toilet, but you walk by and you're staring at me. Like, it's very degrading, and it does something to the soul of a person. And these are the things that, just small things like that makes it hard to integrate back into society. Because if you living in this environment for 10, 20 years and it's not normal, and you don't have any normalcy here, you know what I'm saying? Then you ask this person to get out and do the right thing and be productive. The person is not going to be functional. This is the functional. It breeds the functional person.
Jeg forsøkte å ta opp tråden med fengselsleder, med Dale. Hans virkelighetsoppfatning var annerledes. Han så viktigheten av en human fangebehandling. Han så viktigheten av respekt. Men jeg så kanskje ikke noen eksempler hvor på en måte hans perspektiver og prinsipper ble etterlevd.
Currently, I'm in prison right now for murder in the second degree. I was sentenced to 25 years of life for that. I got a little over close to 16 years in prison.
I was convicted of attempted murder in the first degree. I received 40 to life for that.
I was convicted for murder and a conspiracy to commit murder. For the murder, I received 25 years to life, running consecutive with the conspiracy, which is in total 33 years and a third to life.
Is there time? Just kidding. 1 hour. 1 hour. Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you guys for your willingness to participate in this assignment. What we would like you to do is to think openly. In a way, draw up the ideal prison. It's still going to be a prison. It's still going to be a place where you're deprived of your freedom. So that's the frame. But what would it look like in a way? You can make some drawings, you can make some notes, but we'd like your thoughts.
So we could come up with any concept of prison that we can imagine.
Gotcha. All right. A pastoral view where it's like a campus.
Yeah.
You know, it's a jail, yes, a facility, but a campus.
Put some greenery around here. Remember when
You don't really have to look at jail cells. You don't have to look at
Pretty much don't look at bars.
You got rooms.
Just a couch, bed, everything, you know.
No doors.
Like a dorm room.
What do we do after that?
Well, you put.
What are the work hours? How long we
That's
work?
when we get to the programs.
You have
These
to
programs is where we're gonna get more detail.
Right. And what about as far as the time you got in? Do anybody agree with, like, somebody got 10 years in, they should be around people with 10 years in? I mean, if it's your prison, you can pretty much do it how you want to do it. And
I wasn't implying that.
No, I'm saying, no. I'm saying.
So we're gonna just take you piece by piece. First, we're gonna start with the security, right? There's no walls in this facility, no bars, it's more of a campus setting. We thought about having like ID cards where you go to the building and you have to check in. And right on your ID card is like a computer chip and it logs you in at what time you're there. So you're being monitored everywhere you go. It's not like you could just leave the campus at all. We spoke about having more access to secondary education, such as college, associates, bachelor's, master's degree programs, and if you choose so, a doctorate program. Degrees that you can use upon reentry, not just liberal arts degrees or philosophy degrees. We're talking about business degrees, teaching degrees, computer engineering, things like that. And that also takes me into the vocational center. Basically, is some of them are a little outdated. So if we had more up-to-date vocational programs like computer literacy, computer training, with actual up-to-date computers, it would equip the individual upon reentry to be able to reenter successfully. Also an anger management program. We spoke about, a parenting program that would actually help fathers, and if it was a female facility, mothers to become better parents, because we felt that was one of the most important things for individuals to rehabilitate themselves is contact with their family. Also, maybe possibly emailing, through the phone. Again, this is something, especially with the technology today. If, for example, if your family member was unable to visit you, you could Skype with them possibly. Do that, right. You pay $1 today, you save 10 tomorrow, okay? And that's what we're trying to aim at and show that will work. Currently, it costs $30,000 on average, depending on if the individual has health concerns or whatever, to house one prisoner. We're asking for possibly a little bit more than that for just a shorter time than having you to spend that for 20 years, 30 years, and spending $150,000, $200,000 to house one prisoner. We feel that also the crafts and trades and vocations and education that men will receive in here will be able to be carried over into their society and their community. They'll become not only upstanding citizens, but productive members, tax-paying members, individuals that will be putting back into the pot instead of taking it out. We all have taken so much from our communities, and we're working now to try to re-enter them to try to give back. And I think from having a program like this or a prison like this, you're giving an individual an opportunity to do that. You're assisting him in assisting not only himself, but his community.
I think 80% of prisoners get released. So who do you want coming home to live next door to you? You want somebody who has took education programs or vocational programs and has bettered themselves, or somebody who hasn't learned anything and get released and he's your neighbor.
Now, I know you only had an hour, so you didn't have a chance to think out everything in this, in your idea. But as you dreamed up and troubleshot and group thought what it would be, did you think at all about what society as a whole, and in America, society doesn't think as a whole. We're fragmented in this country, Half the country thinks one way, the other half the country thinks the other way at best. How would this go over, do you think?
Half the country believes in punishment, and the other half believes that punishment doesn't work. It's compassion that rehabilitates somebody. So I definitely thought about that. Like, I mean, it just seemed unrealistic, a lot of it.
How you guys thought about technology and allow technology, a sensing device to say if the bracelet leaves the perimeter. I've never thought of that. You know, I don't know if the technology exists, but with GPS the way it is, I'd be surprised if it didn't.
We put up a wall, okay? Move the shower into the room or the cell, but we take away the phone, then you have Halden prison. That's how it is. Maximum security prison in Norway.
And do you take international transfers?
I was at Halden Prison in March of 2012. I said at the time that if I was to pick 5 or 6 guys from Attica's honor block and told them to draw up the prison of your dreams, they would probably come up with some kind of a Halden model. Well, you nailed it, just so you know. Yeah, obviously. As he made 2 very slight changes and put a wall around it, and that's Halden Prison. And at the time in 2012, I was quite skeptical about whether or not this is going to work or not. So now I said, I'd like to come back and see it in 5 years. It's been 4 years. Since I was there, they've had one incident which we would consider a serious assault on an inmate. Inmate in a woodworking shop hit another inmate with a thing of wood. So does it work? The results are what they are. When's the last time we had an assault on an inmate here? Tuesday. So it's just, my point is that in that snapshot of a place, it does work. Whether we could replicate it here or not, I don't know. So, yep, right. Thank you for your efforts. Appreciate it.
Anything's possible. Extremely difficult. Finances are a huge part of it. Our political system is also extremely complex and difficult to navigate.
The changes we've made haven't really cost us anything. We just changed our philosophy and changed what we expect of our staff and our approach. And I think what we can do without money is start changing our language about how we refer to people who live in prisons, who are on probation. I think we can change our policies about how we treat people, what we expect, and how we set goals for people who are living in prisons and on probation. I think that we can train our staff differently. Now, it doesn't mean we can offer them necessarily more training, but we can focus differently on the content of what we're training. We can set different expectations for our staff of how we want them to interact and how to measure a successful day. I think that we can change our programs and make them focused on creating better neighbors and not just a compliant prisoner. None of those things have cost us any money.
Welcome.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a while now.
Yeah. Welcome to North Dakota. Good to have you.
Yeah, I'm looking so much forward to this.
Yes. When we arrived in Norway, we went with the expectation that we'd see nice-looking prisons. But for years we had been implementing a redesign of evidence-based practices, so we thought we were doing pretty good at making good prisons. I realized after seeing the prisons and meeting with the Norwegian Correctional Services directors, we were making good prisoners. What we weren't doing was making good neighbors. And when we went to Norway, what was very clear to me is no matter what programs or curriculum we use in treatment or what we have in terms of staff, if we don't create the right environment, the intervention won't work. And that was probably the biggest piece we took, was creating the right environment to help people become better neighbors, and also the concept of humanity and treating people like humans and people, not just offenders, convicts, felons, or inmates.
It's helped me realize, like, especially with some of the counselors, working with them, it's just like opening up to, like, and trying to find out, because a lot of times I didn't even know where my issues was. You know, I was just kind of going through life, you know, but working with, like, there was a lady here named Holly or Jody, and, you know, just opening, you know, talking with them and having, like, a trust with them to, like, and give them, you know, give it a chance.
I understand there's been some changes regarding the operation of this unit last couple of months or last 6 months.
The differences that I've experienced here is there's a lot more leniency with certain behaviors, such as fighting, the contraband. They don't get put into segregation as long as they used to. The punishment is not as strict as the other facilities that I've come from. And I see a lot more of manipulation out of some of the guys because they know they can get away with things.
Well, there's quite a bit of resistance from the staff. Obviously, when we first started this, there was a lot more resistance than there is now. I think as time goes on, we're going to continue we'll roll with that resistance and start to, you know, get people to see, you know, the benefits of it, especially once we start getting some of our own numbers, some of our own data that we can say that, you know what, this isn't making it more dangerous. This is making it, you know, a better place.
My personal opinion is sometimes the punishment don't fit what they do, so they continue to do it because they know they're gonna, well, I'll go down to AS for 2 days, then I'll be back. And so they continue to do it. Whereas where I came from, a tattoo gun, you're gonna get 3 months or more in segregation, pretty much.
Yeah.
And here it's a day or two.
Okay.
So I feel that it's not teaching them a lesson.
Okay. But your experience is that longer segregation teach them a lesson, or do they come back in segregation later on?
A lot of them, once they've experienced it there for that long period of time, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them did not want to go back to it. Not saying that it straightened their behavior out permanently, but they would go a long time before they did something again.
After coming home and having learned about the progression model, where you'll hear the heads of the Norwegian Correctional Services say, we never want to release someone from our maximum security prison to the streets. Well, we were releasing them straight from segregation, which I think speaks volumes to our role in public safety. The message to the community then is saying, we can't manage this person in a maximum security prison, but community, good luck. And so we came home and immediately said, the practice of releasing people from segregation stops. And they were there for reasons like chronic failure to follow rules, tattooing, having contraband, failure to comply with their housing referrals. So it was really nebulous what could get you there. But what was even more hard to figure out was what you had to do to get out. And typically the criteria to get out was, we feel you've been back here long enough. So when I started to investigate segregation and I'd ask them about a guy who was there for assault, I'd say, so how do you know he's ready? Well, he hasn't gotten in a fight since he's been back here. Well, he also hasn't been around another human being since he's been back here, so I'd hope not. And so everything about getting out had to do about the absence of bad behavior, but nothing new having happened. And so we really narrowed down to about 5 or 6 categories of behaviors that could get you back there, and all of the most serious. We then started to assess people that came in to decide, do they just need a timeout and we can handle them in population, or do we want to keep them? Basically, we weighed the risk to the institution against the harm we're going to do to that person. Based on that assessment, we put them into a unit where they actually get high intensive intervention. So our thought about the unit now is behave your way in, behave your way out, and then support them on the way out. We have sergeants saying, I'm building better relationships with the people here. Another officer said, I feel like I'm actually doing something, not just being a flight attendant walking down tiers giving drinks and toilet paper.
You know, it does suck, you know, after being here 4 times, you know, start wondering, you know, is this what my life's going to be for, you know, long, you know what I mean, here on out or what? Or, you know, I'm 28 right now, you know, it's still time to, you know, change it up. I love tattooing. I eventually want to get out in the streets, start, you know, a little tattoo shop, you know. But, it's, you know, you got to think about that kind of stuff in here and what I can do to improve myself for when I get out there so I can make it as a tattoo artist, you know.
Stepping back, the big point for me, you know, was stepping back and taking a look at, you know, the big picture. These guys are going to get out someday. And the question was, well, where do they go? I don't know. They live next to you. They live next to me. You know, hopefully we've equipped them so that way they can become productive members of society.
Granddaddy ran a whiskey in a big black Dodge. Bought it at an auction at the Mason Lodge.
Jeg har truffet mange positive, endringsvillige mennesker. Også i etika på ledelsesnivå. Men jeg har også truffet av på en måte gode mennesker som jobber i feil system. Altså, en god kriminalomsorg gir jo kjempegevinster for samfunnet på lang sikt. Og det undres meg over at amerikanerne da ikke på en måte tar det perspektivet innover seg, men er så, i hvert fall som system, såpass straffeorientert. Da. Det undres jeg over.
We need to change in this country. Find a way to break the cycle. Many of the individuals that are incarcerated will tell you how parents or people that should have a positive effect on their life have a negative effect on their lives, and they end up incarcerated. We got to work on that a little bit. And then we blame a lot on we're sending men out not prepared. But I personally think we give them the tools. We give them the tools in their toolbox. We are by no means the best we can be. You can always improve. But when you send human beings back to the same environment they left, and you put them out there with no job, no real place to live, some of them, they're destined for failure. You know, it's like throwing a fish in a pond that's going to go dry.
Most people think if you create an environment that's pleasant and not punitive, people won't want to leave. That if you would just make a tougher prison, people won't come back. We know that's not true. It's all over the place. The hardest prisons have the highest recidivism rates. What I think we encounter, and maybe it comes down to this, in a class just recently with new officers, I showed a video of Halden Prison. And one of the staff members in the class very earnestly said to me, I get this. I get it. It makes sense. And I think that's a pretty common response I get. On a human common sense level, people go, yeah, okay. But If you were the victim of a really heinous crime, how would you feel about the perpetrator of that crime living in such a luxurious setting? And my response was, well, I'd be pissed off. But what is that when I say I'm pissed off? And the group kind of takes a minute and they go, it's a feeling. It's an emotion. I said, that's right. And we're not the Department of Emotional Responses. We're the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
I wish I fly like a bird, fight like a bee, run like